if they do go to court, and if there is discovery, and if there is discovery about these bots, and it turns out that the number of accounts is significantly higher than Twitter has represented both to customers, advertisers, the SEC, then Twitter stands to lose a lot. There would be a lot of liability there.
And now, what's next for Twitter? And what's next for Elon Musk? Is he trying to get out of his offer to buy, or is he playing hardball to try to force Twitter to own up to what traffic it really has? Joining us is somebody who has a good eye on this big business venture, Amy Peikoff, Chief Policy Advisor of the social media site Parler. Amy, thanks very much for joining us.
Doug, thanks for having me back. We talked about Elon last time.
We did indeed. And it's really hard to say now that he's threatening to pull out of this thing, whether he really means it or whether this is just more Elon Musk gamesmanship. And I'm intrigued by a tweet that he sent out about 14 hours ago as of this taping. It's a picture of a Hollywood star Chuck Norris at a chessboard with the caption, "Chuckmate." It suggests to me that Elon's involved in some more gamesmanship here. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it was about the tweet that he had posted immediately before that, as I understand it. And so he's saying, in effect, that whereas Twitter was not giving him the information that he needed to evaluate the number of spam and bot accounts on the platform, that now if they do sue him for what's known as specific performance of this contract, if they try to force him to go through with the deal, that Twitter will likely be forced to produce evidence about the spam and the bots in court. And the question is, do they want to do that?
Interesting. Part of the discovery process that you're cutting to the chase right now. This is about how many bots or phony users does Twitter really have? Now, as head of Parler, you are fully aware of this process of bots and phony users. What are your suggestions or your thoughts, having been in the business, about how many bots there are out there?
Well, it's really hard, I think, for a lot of us to know. I think the people who are in the best position to know are the people inside Twitter themselves. And so, of course, that is why it would be likely that if they did go to court, Twitter would have to come forth with the evidence because they have the most evidence available of anybody. But many other people have speculated based on all sorts of things, looking at segments of feeds, perhaps even looking at this fire hose, the so-called fire hose of data that Musk has been provided with. My guess is that he would be able to go before the court with enough evidence to show that there's at least a serious question, and that if Twitter is going to try to force Musk to go through with the deal, they should have to come forth with more evidence about the number of spam and bot accounts. It seems pretty straightforward.
It seems to me that Twitter truly is opposed. I mean, from very top to the very bottom, opposed to Musk's takeover of that organization. We've seen that expressed repeatedly. We've seen it expressed on secret recordings done by Project Veritas.
Yeah, so you wonder why they really want to force Musk to go through with this deal when it seemed, as he memed about last night, it seemed that they didn't want him to take it over in the first place. And then moreover, if you say, okay, well, I really care about Twitter, I really care about the future of free expression online, even if we all disagree about what constitutes free expression online, if they really cared about it, would they want Twitter to be taken over by somebody who didn't want it anymore? It does seem kind of absurd. Now, lawyers are in a position of putting arguments before courts that seem sort of absurd that way. They don't make sense, and it's in order to get something else. So it might be in order to get a bigger payoff from Musk, maybe more than the $1 billion he had agreed to. It could just mean, they want to get Musk to settle for some amount that is larger than the $1 billion exit fee.
Who is better positioned to withstand a major league battle like this, Twitter or Elon Musk? We've already seen that both of them have taken some hits. Twitter's stock price dropped by 6.7%. And that's on top of the 34% since the deal was first announced that they have lost. But Tesla's stock has also been dropping. So who's better poised to come out ahead here?
You know, that's hard to say. They're both hiring very expensive law firms. You'll see the names of the law firms dropped in the news and et cetera. The thing that I was thinking about more is if they do go to court and if there is discovery about these bots and it turns out that the number of accounts is significantly higher than Twitter has represented both to customers, advertisers, the SEC, then Twitter stands to lose a lot. There would be a lot of liability there. If the court took the unusual step of having Musk take over Twitter, you might argue that he should be indemnified for any liability that would come as a result of Twitter misrepresenting the number of bot and spam accounts on there. So, I don't know in terms of the lawyer's fees in a protracted legal battle and who can afford it in a financial sense, but in terms of who might have the most to lose, in terms of what would come out during that battle, I would say it's Twitter.
Mm-hmm. This case is going to be heard in the state of Delaware if it goes to trial, which has a reputation for being a corporation-friendly state. Whose favor does that play into?
It's hard to say. I was looking at the different, I don't know what you want to call it, some early betting about, which side has the better advantage. They do have a lot of expertise about mergers and acquisitions. I've heard that it has not really been done to force an acquisition of this size before. There has been specific performance granted for acquisition deals, but this is the largest, and it would be really unusual for them to do it. On the other hand, what Musk supposedly has to show is that there has been, some new fact that has come to light that would have a material adverse effect on the ability of the company to generate revenue as anticipated. And some legal experts have doubted whether he's going to be able to show something that is enough of a magnitude that would have an effect for a period of years. But as I said, what if there is legal liability to, for instance, past advertisers who say maybe we haven't gotten our money's worth? What if there is liability to the SEC, for example, if Twitter has made a misrepresentation about these figures? So I think you have to take into account material adverse effect, looking at more than just the revenue that might come in the future.
Virtually any free speech advocate who's in the know, or any conservative who's in the know, truly believes that Twitter shadow bans or diminishes conservative voices. If Musk does, and they're putting great hope in Elon Musk, if he does indeed pull out of this and holds to his promise, where should those people go? And I know the answer is Parler from your perspective, but will they go to Parler? Should they go to Parler?
No, I think they definitely should come to Parler. We are nonpartisan. We do offer free speech. We offer essentially what Musk has been talking about. I would say myself, when I've been looking at the statements that Musk has made about his intentions for the content moderation on Twitter, I have tiny philosophical quibbles. I am a trained philosopher, after all, but everything that he was saying in terms of the concrete examples and what the overall effect of the content moderation as he envisions it would be in terms of, making equal numbers of people on the left and people on the right upset, et cetera, it makes sense. So I do think that if the deal did go through, and I don't know if there's any way it can now, it would have been better for free speech overall, for Twitter, for everybody. But no, you can find all of this on Parler right now. And that was, what we've told people. We said, here he is, he's going to pay $44 billion for free speech on Twitter, but everyone can have free speech for free on Parler.
Right. Real quick question, if you could answer this shortly. If Republicans do take over both houses of Congress, there is talk of legislating social media sites. Do you worry about that, or is that hopeful?
I certainly worry about that because I don't think that legislation is the way to handle the issues. There are real issues that have come up, like you say, with shadow banning and perhaps outright censorship in some cases. But I've always argued that litigation is the best way to handle these things because you handle it quickly and surgically, and you don't create further entanglement between government and social media, which I think is the origin of all these problems in the first place.
Amy Peikoff, Chief Policy Advisor for the social media site Parler. Really appreciate your perspective. Very, very enlightening. Thank you. Please come back.
Thanks for having me on again.
Hi, I'm Doug McKelway, and thank you for watching Centerpoint. We hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Leave a comment below and keep the conversation going by sharing this video with a friend who needs to see it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.